Imagine a man so reviled that even his enemies marveled at his powers. A man whose mere gaze could dominate women, and whose mere presence could inspire both devotion and terror. He weaponized disgust to compel attention, broke all social decorum with his hypnotic stare, and seduced women with promises of religious ecstasy. The crowning achievement of his manipulation was becoming the de facto ruler of Russia, controlling the very empress who held the throne. This is his incredible tale of how a dirty peasant fooled the aristocrats and nearly destroyed an empire. These tactics may seem crass and obvious today, but they were shocking and effective in early 20th century Russia. After marrying a local girl, Rasputin left the village and drifted around Russia. Here, according to his own account, he began having visions and receiving secret knowledge, which he claimed would grant him holy powers. While there's no evidence he performed any miracles, Rasputin capitalized on the mystery surrounding his abilities. And Rasputin obliged. He arrived in St. Petersburg, met the family and claimed he could cure Alexei through prayer. He soon attracted the attention of the empress, who found him insufferable but could not deny his influence over her husband and son. Once again, Rasputin used his hypnotic stare to dominate her. She looked at him as though spellbound, and before she knew it, he had read all her thoughts. On November 4th night, they plied him with wine laced with cyanide, a poison that would ensure his death. But somehow Rasputin survived. Yusupov then shot Rasputin 5 times, but the bullets merely enraged him. First, charisma can be a lethal weapon. Rasputin's charm and magnetism made him irresistible to women and influential with the royals. Second, exploiting belief systems is a powerful form of manipulation. Rasputin built a cult-like following by blending religion with earthly pleasures. Third, emotional dependency creates vulnerability. Alexandra's obsession with Alexei's health gave Rasputin leverage over her and Nicholas. Finally, image and spectacle shape perceptions. Rasputin's staged death solidified his legend and radicalized his followers. Enraged, Rasputin stumbled out of the house and into the street. History shows us that no institution or leader is beyond reproach. Even a centuries-old monarchy can be toppled by a single grifter with charisma and a taste for power. We hope you've enjoyed this peek into the past. Please remember to like and share if you learned something new today. There he encountered a police captain who tried to arrest him, but Rasputin beat him up. Finally, the assassins threw Rasputin into the Neva River, hoping to drown him. But as onlookers crowded the bank to watch, Rasputin surfaced again. Undaunted, the conspirators retrieved his body and shot him a 6th time before leaving him in a clump of bushes. Unlike the liberated women of the salon, Alexandra was bound by duty and decorum. Despite being poisoned, shot 6 times, beaten senseless, and drowned, Rasputin managed to stagger back to Yusupov's house. There he collapsed and died, uttering cryptic words that foreshadowed his own demise. "You have killed me, but I shall rise again, and then shall fall. You will all fall after me. The blood from our family shall not end until the 7th generation." How accurate this prophecy was remains unclear, but within 2 years, the entire Romanov dynasty had perished violently, making Rasputin's prediction all too real. Yet she felt an irresistible pull towards the grave. She invited Rasputin to join them on their next vacation, an invitation he accepted, his hypnotic eyes mesmerized and intimidated. He weaponized the gaze to dominate women who were otherwise stifled by society. He manipulated religious beliefs by fusing sexuality and spirituality. His followers became emotionally dependent on him through a warped theology of sin and absolution. He attained political power through Alexandra's desperation. His influence over her and Nicholas made him the de facto ruler of Russia, and he cultivated a myth of invincibility through his assassination attempt. Poison, bullets, beating and drowning failed to kill him. This enhanced his mystique and shocked his enemies. Intrigued, the royal couple allowed Rasputin to administer his controversial treatment, but it was here that he took his schemes to a shocking level. He meddled in government affairs, controlled military appointments, and undermined ministers who opposed him. Basically, he was running Russia, or at least he thought he was. He used his influence over Alexandra to get exactly what he wanted: sex, and he didn't bother hiding it. Over the next few months, Rasputin openly prostituted himself at brothels and with married women, all while staying at the palace. The constant scandal created a storm of gossip throughout high society, yet Alexandra remained oblivious. She lavished Rasputin with even more gifts and favors, granting him a noble title and using her influence to advance his dubious schemes. At first, it seemed hopeless, but then miraculously, Alexei's condition improved. Olga and Alexandra attributed this to Rasputin's powers and invited him to stay at the palace. For weeks, Rasputin doled out more prayers, all while living rent-free in the palace and enjoying lavish gifts from the grateful parents. He attracted followers, some out of genuine faith, others recognizing the power he wielded over more gullible souls. As his group grew, Rasputin solidified his legend. He told followers his dirtiness was a sign of holiness. "The dirtier I am, the holier I become," he'd declare, refusing to wash or change his clothes. This outrageous behavior set him apart and compelled attention, especially among the bored Russian elite. But Rasputin proves the course of empires can be altered by the most unlikely of figures using the most unconventional methods. Protruding forward under bushy brows, those eyes were strikingly intense, mesmerizing those who met them. Grand Duchess Olga Alexandrovna was the daughter of King Nicholas II and his wife, Alexandra. But the joy of her marriage to Duke Philip of Hesse, and by Rhine, was short-lived. Their first child, Alexei, was born with hemophilia, a rare blood-clotting disorder. This was devastating. Not only did it mean their son would likely die young, the secret of his illness could bring ruin to the Romanov dynasty. Hemophilia was hereditary, and its existence in the royal line could undermine faith in the divine right of kings. Women especially found themselves in, and Rasputin knew just how to use this effect. He cultivated an air of mystery and power, staring intently until a woman broke eye contact first. Then he would press his advantage, advancing slowly and sensually until he had complete control. One woman later recalled how she succumbed to his gaze and touch. He hypnotized me, dominated me, and intoxicated me. I don't know how it happened. All I remember is that I went to him, and he led me like a somnambulist to the bed. In a world where women faced severe social restrictions, Rasputin offered forbidden excitement. He held court in dimly lit salons and private estates, exerting his influence over the nobility, especially among the women. His goal: infiltrate the homes and hearts of the Russian elite. Let us dive into the mind of this peasant-turned-potentate and see how his influence shook the foundations of one of the world's greatest empires. If you thought such a man must have been handsome and refined, you'd be dead wrong. For this sinister figure was as filthy as they came, deliberately unwashed, unkempt, and repulsive. But it was precisely this seeming lack of self-respect that made him irresistible to the Russian elite. Now, there are many stories about Rasputin's humble beginnings, but details are murky because Rasputin was a pathological liar. What we can say for certain is that he was born around 1869 in a remote village. According to Rasputin, he was the son of a peasant serf, and spent his youth working the land. However, villagers who knew him from childhood said his claims of humble origins were bogus. They described a young Rasputin as lazy, arrogant, and prone to tall tales, not the sort of person who toiled in the fields. This discrepancy hints at the lengths to which Rasputin went to craft his public image. Even his basic biography was a lie. His name was Grigory Rasputin, and his story is a masterclass in the dark art of manipulating the powerful. Born into poverty, Rasputin claimed to have mystical visions and healing powers. But the truth was that his disheveled exterior and feverish prophecies were carefully crafted weapons. Rasputin had designs on the highest levels of power, and he climbed the greasy pole of influence, using every trick in the book. We often think of history's big events as the result of rational decisions by powerful leaders. First, we need to understand how Rasputin defied convention to capture the attention of the Russian elite. However, whether he truly toiled as a peasant or lived off false claims is less important than what he did next. It was around this time that Rasputin developed his other signature tactic, staring people down with his hypnotic eyes. This brings us to the key event that vaulted Rasputin to power: the fateful meeting with Alexandra. When Olga heard of the mysterious healer Rasputin, she reached out to him in hopes he could help their son. Now, while these royal favors might seem like a small price for saving their son, Rasputin had bigger plans. At the royal family's summer estate in Crimea, Rasputin reveled in the luxury and adulation. In effect, the Romanov family was being held hostage by Rasputin, who now exerted unprecedented power over the Russian Empire. Soon, opposition to Rasputin would reach a boiling point, and a plot was hatched to end his reign of terror. Now, surely this is where the story of the invincible Rasputin ends, right? Well, not quite. So let's recap the astonishing rise of a man who single-handedly destabilized an empire. Rasputin mastered psychological warfare by embracing filth. He knew that repulsion compels attention. Most importantly, Rasputin predicted the fall of the Romanovs, a self-fulfilling prophecy that came true during the Russian Revolution. So what lessons can we take from his story? In conclusion, Grigory Rasputin was a master manipulator who destabilized an empire using nothing but his mind, eyes, and shameless determination.